Thank you so much, Andrew. And I would like to add my warm welcome to the webinar this morning. I'm obviously quite excited to showcase and explain the years of work we've been doing in the IoT space, particularly with Breeze. And it's also important to realize that we've been working with a number of key partners in this space. So seeing those solutions integrated with Breeze has been very, very useful. So on the next slide, we will showcase the go-to-market verticals that we've seen in this space. It's important at this very early stage to realize that we're working on the base assumption that you understand what the IoT or the Internet of Things is all about. It's the internet working of devices, vehicles, smart buildings, electronic sensors and software actuators, for example, that can all be brought together, and these objects can collect and exchange data. And I'm often asked how IoT works around smart cities and the various sub-verticals within a larger smart city project. IoT really is the enabling technology. So it's important to realize that it's there primarily to allow us to integrate with solutions such as BMS systems, building management solutions, and also very importantly within that capability is how it plays into a smart workplace solution. So I'm going to be focusing today primarily on two key verticals around healthcare and hospitality through the use of various use cases that we've described to customers with our partners. And also very importantly to realize is that a lot of these integration points can play quite well into other verticals. Retail is one vertical that I'll touch upon, but that's not to dissuade us from realizing that we've got use cases in various other verticals, including emergency services, to take IoT triggers, to provide us with notifications and the request to bring appropriate resources wherever they will be geographically located onto a single collaboration session, as well as I mentioned, the ability around utilizing smart workspace environments, which we're seeing a huge adoption of IoT technology in and around, and also most importantly, travel hubs, looking at ways in which individuals want to be allowed to get notifications, whether they're late or early to gate is a use case that we're referring to, and how we can use that information to get them access to key agents in a contact center. And then, of course, the construction and smart buildings vertical, a very important vertical, are utilizing IoT technologies to allow us access to HVAC, heating, lighting, various other access control systems, and using that bidirectionally to getting events from those systems, and also, most importantly, using it to be triggered. Also important to realize in this slide is probably verticals that I haven't touched upon, such as education. Again, all of those verticals are absolutely key. It's just really showing some of the key verticals we're having discussions with at the moment. So on the next slide, the IoT spread in the enterprise is something we're seeing now, where we're seeing more emphasis of IoT. Excuse me, just go back one slide. We are seeing more use of IoT in the enterprise, particularly in healthcare. And this is driven by the ability to use various devices that monitor elements such as heart rate, blood pressure, and temperature through thermometers. And also very importantly is how we start to update patient management systems and also utilize that data to get access to physicians who perhaps could be in surgery or in another part of the establishment at that point in time. So healthcare is a prime vertical for us. Another one, as I mentioned, is in around the commercial offices who want to use that environment to be much more intelligent, and i.e. sharing physical spaces and the various components such as a phone or projector, etc., for meeting room and orchestrating facilities within that environment. I think it is important just to touch on the various IoT data protocols, and I am focusing on two primary protocols that have been ratified by the OASIS standard, but that's not to take away from the other protocols such as AMQP and WebSocket microservices and Node. But what's clear here is that MQTT and KIAP are the two primary protocols that are being used by IoT platforms, both of which support an open standard, web services standard running over IP, and it's important to realize that we are able to utilize those as part of our integration. So let's go a little bit into some of the use cases. And the first question we're often asked is why? So let's focus on that healthcare vertical. One of the reasons why we want to perhaps utilize IoT in this space is fundamentally to start thinking about ways of receiving triggers. Imagine an environment where everyday devices can now start to provide telephone calls. So the ability to trigger workflows where physicians are across the real estate, allowing patients to receive care irrespective of what their needs are. So we have developed the following use case, and in fact this is demonstratable today. So the idea is that we're able to utilize a sensor that is managing temperature, or in this case, heart rate. The heart rate can then utilize, as Andrew just mentioned, the business rules that are defined. If a specific threshold has been breached, we're able then to take data from the patient management system and determine that a particular alarm needs to be created. It's important to realize that alarms, typically in these environments, are many and varied. So we're able to utilize these rules to define priority. In this particular example, we can make a call to the primary care team, providing with an announcement specific to that particular alarm. We're able then to utilize that by supporting it through perhaps lesser targeted teams, through email and SMS, perhaps joined by a video conference. And the most important thing here is that we're able to deal with the issue and situation as swiftly as possible. So once we've done that, it's important to realize that there is an emergence of wearable technologies in these environments. I don't think we've reached a killer form factor at this point in time that truly is universally adopted in this space. However, what's clear is that there are various monitoring sensor-driven patient wearable technology that's available today that are being used in these environments. And also, very importantly, we're able to abstract that data in real time onto IoT platforms such as Arrows Connect, Utex IViva for business management solution, and Nova Links, Nova Alert. What's important then is how do we take the necessary actions by the appropriate individuals that are available to respond to that particular notification. So a little bit around the how. The how is very much bringing together Avaya Breeze and the Arrow Connect IoT platform. And we've done that primarily by building snap-ins. Sorry, let me just go back one slide. Building snap-ins from our partner that allows us to bring together our systems between Avaya in form of Breeze and utilizing about half a dozen different tasks on the Arrow Connect platform. So we are using everything from a snapshot that is able to take elements such as heart rate, UV light, temperature, gyro coordinates, pressure, accelerometer, as well as airflow and magnet, and also even the steps used in a particular environment. We're able to use those as a mechanism to allow us to start thinking about ways in which Breeze will then develop ability to respond to that particular task. And so we've done that through Engagement Designer, which you've seen in the past. And here's one very simple demonstration. As I've mentioned, the actual sensors, which there are approximately thousands of, 20 plus thousand at the moment, that we are able to allow integration through via the Arrow Connect platform, IoT platform. In this particular example, it's a Silicon Labs sensor puck that is used to detect the heart rate in beats per minute. And that information is presented through the Arrow gateway in real time. And that information is then pulled into a Breeze workflow. So we're able to detect the actual heart rate and build the business rule to define if it's over a certain threshold, we would like a call to be made to appropriate physicians and support staff, play in a suitable announcement. Once the call has been dropped, then to follow up with an email and an SMS message, and then we can close out the actual gateway. So very simple example that shows the power of how we bring together the real-time sensor information via the Arrow Connect portal, and then resulting in a specific email and SMS that's been powered by Breeze. So a little bit around Arrow here. Arrow have developed the Arrow Connect portal that can really help us in a number of verticals. I've already touched on healthcare. In retail, it's really looking at use cases such as a VIP customer coming into a retail store and being able to get an improvement in the customer experience that they may be having in that particular point in time, as well as on the flip side for the actual retailer, it's the ability to not only service the customer, but think about ways of managing stock and inventory by allowing them to be managed and coordinated in real time. In manufacturing, the just-in-time processes that many manufacturers employ can now be utilized to determine when and how a particular sensor could be used if there's been a failure on the production line, and that can result in suitable notifications and collaboration through a number of different people in that space. And as I mentioned, transportation, logistics, and the ability to get information in travel hubs within public spaces is going to be absolutely key. I wanted to, at this point, highlight an offer that we are providing many of you today, and that is that within an actual pack, we've got the ability now for you to utilize this same technology and think about use cases that you might be wishing to deploy with your customer requirements. And you've got access to the cloud-based development sandbox, which we refer to as collaboratory, where a Breeze instance and all instances is available and running for you today. That is also, of course, supported by the same 3-month access to an Arrow Connect portal and gateway, so that you've got the ability to allow that information coming in from the sensor to be utilized. You also, of course, have a sensor that's a part of this pack that allows you to get access to the various information elements that I mentioned. And of course, we'll allow you with 4 hours support to get you up and running and making sure it's working in a way that you see fit. So that offer is available today. The other part I wanted to highlight was UTech, which I've briefly mentioned, with their solution called iViva. And that really is looking at ways where we've built a snap-in that allows us integration directly into the building management system, so we don't need to worry about the multitude or myriad of different BMS protocols such as Modbus, BACnet, TCP/NET, Longworks, etc. All of that is abstracted away from us, and we have to just simply take the input in from the BMS system and allow us then to work within a Breeze workflow. And that could also be digital signage, access control, car parking systems, etc. So opening up the possibilities of a number of other key areas. On the next slide, I wanted to highlight one particular niche workflow, and that is that in hospitality. So we had one particular hospitality group that had a very unique demand for getting integration with Breeze into managing and controlling the cooling and heating of their swimming pools. So looking at their telemetry water system to determine when and how the pool would be able to be cooled and managed. So this was actually using an actual sensor on the pool system, and that was then working through a Wi-Fi connection to allow us then to bring that into an alert or a trigger that we were able to use within Engagement Designer. So that was able to utilize everything from the ability to manage and control the actual physical telemetry water system by Breeze and bi-directionally getting notifications when and if a particular level of temperature had been breached in the pool. And how we did this was via a very simple architecture, which we'll see on the next slide, where the MQTT broker was able to work with an IoT snap-in that we as Avaya developed using our low-level RESTful services. And it was a very simple subscribe, send message, and receive message back. So publish and see respondent message, resultant message back. And that was able then to work off Breeze, and we're able to use the event catalog to initiate the ability to work directly with the actual hospitality app that they had, that could either work in public spaces or into a mobile app that the VIP customers are using for perhaps a private pool that they were running. And my final slide really falls into the space of the art of the possible. We're referring to this as the POC of things, or proof of concept of things, and that's effectively saying that we could take any IoT trigger based around your Java client or Android or iOS client, and that could work directly into an MQTT broker that we're using from a third-party solution called Mosquito. And the idea then is that could then be brought into the IoT stack on Breeze, and we could then invoke and examine an engagement design a workflow for that specific trigger. So really opening up the art of the possible. And it's important to realize that IoT now is really becoming commonplace, both in the consumer and commercial markets. We're seeing areas such as thermostats, smoke alarms, electrical outlets now really being readily available and applying IoT. And that's really opening up the possibility now of Breeze integration. So with that, I will stop and hand the call back to Andrew for our next speaker.